So, as we all know, when Beyond Light comes out, there will be no new guns added into Destiny. Bungie is disabling all the guns we already own, basically forcing us to dismantle them all. People aren't just throwing a tantrum or anything. Literally, there will be no game modes we can use them in. None. So I've compiled a list of all the guns that will get you through the year of Beyond Light. Hopefully Bungie will reverse this decision and decide to include guns in the next expansion. Please. Okay, so if you're wanting a pulse rifle, your only option is Cold Denial. So thankfully it's a pretty decent gun. The one I'm rocking is Chambered Compensator, Flared Magwell, Zen Moment, and Swashbuckler. Being the only legendary pulse rifle not coming from a raid that'll be in the game after Beyond Light, I'll probably just never use a pulse rifle again because I'm not a huge fan of how it fires. Or I'll just force myself to get used to it because what other choice do I have? It's not like I can use my Outlaw Rampage Go figure in any of the activities anymore. I hope you freaking love Hooskow because that's like your only rocket launcher option next season. Impact casing, tracking, cluster bombs is still the go-to role for rocket launcher. I believe? Or better yet, just dismantle it because it's a Hooskow. Okay, so I was going to make this video like 40 minutes long by continuing this joke and only talking about guns that are good through Season 15 before I transition to actual advice, but nobody has time for that. So we're going to focus on guns that you can still earn this season that will get you through at least the next season or two. I'll go over guns I feel are easily farmed, so I won't be talking about world drops. While I believe Beyond Light is going to introduce a ton of new guns that we're going to get to fall in love with that have awesome perk combos we aren't even ready to imagine, I can see a situation where someone ends up in RNG hell and come World's First Raid Day only has a rocket launcher with kill clip and somehow ended up with a revived version of Exhumed on their hand cannon that's somehow even worse than it was in Destiny 1. Anyway, these guns are infeasible up to at least Beyond Light and then some, and these are also only my opinions. So tell me how wrong I am, please, because I love to learn. I'm mostly focusing on the main final 2 perks for most of the guns. For sights and magazine types, you want to just look out for perks that buff range, stability, and or handling in most cases. I'm also very likely to get things wrong because nothing I do can ever go right. So if I missed a gun or something, call me a doo-doo brains. All the guns I mentioned that come from vendors are also world drops, so keep an eye out for those as you're just playing the game. I mentioned it at the end of the video, but wanted to mention it here as well. Also, I totally get PvP recommended gun / perk videos, but are they really needed for PvE? Because it can be pretty suggestive what a god roll is for the most part, with a few exceptions. So please let me know in the comments if you like PvE roll videos. Not this one, obviously, I mean actual good ones, because I enjoy making them. Most of these will come from the prismatic recaster behind me, so it really doesn't matter what order you pull them in, but I will have my recommended farming order at the end of the video. And then I'll try to timestamp it in the description. Oh, and by the way, my name is Studious Coma, and I'll love you for subscribing. Like, tweet at me saying you did, and I'll tell you I love you. I dare you. Actually, I love you regardless. Okay, now back to pulse rifles. While I was joking earlier, you are literally looking at either Cold Denial, exotics, or raid pulses, so I hope you love that. I mentioned my role earlier, and when it comes to PvE, it's really whatever you enjoy on a gun. Experiment with your rolls, always find out what you like over what other people suggest. For me, I want this gun to be as stable as possible, but there really are only a handful of perks on this gun you don't want. A good standard PvE roll would be something like Feeding Frenzy, Multi-Kill Clip, or if you want to not be boring, I think an interesting combo might be Extend Mag, Pulse Monitor, Unrelenting, so you'll get the extra magazine size from Extended, you get the gun to reload and better handling when health is low from Pulse Monitor, and you get health regen from killing some dudes with Unrelenting. This combo could just sound interesting on paper and in practice be doo-doo. So goof around until you find something, you enjoy. You'll farm this from the Arrival-focused Ingram at the Prismatic Recaster. 2 other pulse rifles for your consideration are Sacred Provenance and Shattering Bone. These come from the Garden and Last Wish raids respectively, so aren't really easily farmable, but they're both great pulse rifles. Both have curated roles that I think maybe aren't the best for PvE. I'd suggest for the Sacred getting either Rapid Hit or Outlaw and Kill Clip. I'm actually a fan of full auto on pulses and scouts, and that's what I have on mine. Barrel doesn't matter too much. Some are obviously better than others. For the second perk, I have Ricochet, but High Cal and Extended Mag are also really good options. Chattering Bone, I look for full auto or Outlaw and Rampage with Ricochet, like a standard roll. Chattering Bone just feels better to me than the other two, so that's the one I want to stick with. Full disclosure, I don't know jack about bows, so I have absolutely no authority to speak on them, but I'm going to anyway, because what am I going to do? Not use another reason to keep talking? Anyway, your options for kinetic bows are going to be Accrued Redemption, which you can get from the first chest in Garden, or the Whispering Slab, which you can use edge focus Ingrams at the Drifter box to try and pull a decent one. For both, you probably want straight fletching and Archer's Tempo or Quick Draw. For the Accrued, I'd probably want Explosive Head or good old Rampage. Whispering Slab can't go wrong with Vorpal, Demolitionist, or Swashbuckler. Energy, you can pull Arsenic Bite from vendors, although I wouldn't recommend that unless you have a ton of materials or tokens, so farm them from whichever source you have the most for. Anyway, I'd shoot for like a Rampage or Dragonfly, but I love Dragonfly, so I'm biased. And then maybe Archer's Tempo. And then for the Tyranny of Heaven, which comes from Last Wish, you probably want to get Rampage or Dragonfly. Dragonfly only comes on the curated roll, so it's basically standard PvE stuff. You never know, man. You never know. Scout rifles, they might be good again. The meta is always changing. Remember back when Leviathan launched, when we were all coil glitching, having a ball, Nameless Midnight was the king and everyone was like scrambling to get one or something like that? Ah, those are the days. For scouts, you're going to want to hang onto a Night Watch that you can farm from the lead-focused Umbral Ingrams. I'd probably shoot for Outlaw or Rapid Hit in either Rampage or Explosive Payload. Demolitionist and Multi-Kill Clip are also good options. Mine has Demolitionist. I am in love with that perk, to be fair, and I want it on everything, but I understand it might not be the best PvE perk over, like Rampage. Subsistence might be nice on this too. Not thought about it too much. And then I absolutely love my Transfiguration. Again, this is a raid weapon. It'll come from Last Wish. The curated roll is excellent. It has Outlaw and Explosive Payload on it. You can actually roll this thing with Rampage and Kill Clip, but anyway, I'd say just, shoot for the curated. Why not? So, speaking of raids, segue, I feel like this is a great time for me to rant about something I've had on my mind for a while now. While you may be asking yourself, Studious, I thought you said you were going to only talk about weapons that are easily farmable. Raids certainly are not that. I would like to mention two things. First, this list of weapons would be so short if I didn't bring up raid weapons. And second, there's a whole community of people that are willing to run and teach raids with you over on Twitch. I see ads on YouTube and some Destiny-related websites where people are offering to run raids for like a certain price, and I just want to say that is wholly unnecessary. Everyone is capable of completing raids. You just need people with enough patience to help you learn the encounters. I love raiding in Destiny. My passion is teaching people raids. Like, I love it. So if you're on PlayStation or PC, please come to twitch.tv/StudiousComa and ask me, and I will help you with a raid. I have been described as, quote, the most patient person ever by people, and a really cool guy by other people, and woof woof, woof woof by my dog, which I assume means something positive about me, because she loves me. If you're on any of those platforms and don't want to do a raid with me, please go see CGG at twitch.tv/CGG. And if you are on Xbox or PC, please go see Duke is Cool at twitch.tv/Duke is Cool. There will be links in the description to both of those awesome people. And there are tons of others who are also doing raid helps and stuff like that. So please, don't actually spend money on raids. I don't know if anyone is, but I see these ads and it like drives me crazy. Okay, my rant is over. Back to our regularly scheduled blah blah blah. Oh, okay. Now that that's over, auto rifles. The three I'd recommend are False Promises with Feeding Frenzy or Subsistence and Rampage. Surrounded isn't a bad option either. This one is definitely not my favorite though. It can be farmed from the rifle focused Umbral Ingrams. The best auto, in my opinion, right now is Gnawing Hunger. Get yourself one with Subsistence and Rampage and watch the world burn. This thing is a beast. If you didn't know, Subsistence reloads your magazine from reserves every time you get a kill. Drawback is your reserve ammo is lowered. And Rampage is, well, Rampage, basically the king of PvE. Swashbuckler, I believe, does the same damage as Rampage, but requires more kills to get there. 5 stacks as opposed to 3, or you can get 1 melee kill and get the 5 stacks right away. So there's the trade off. If you're a punchy boy, Swashbuckler is nice, or if you could learn to be a punchy boy, I don't really recommend it over Rampage otherwise. Demolitionist would be a good perk in place of Rampage as well, because, like I said before, I love Demolitionist so much. This gun can be farmed from lead-focused Umbral Ingrams. And then maybe I'd recommend Uriel's because I want to make this auto rifle section a little bit longer. So with Field Prep and Kill Clip, you can have a pretty standard PvE roll. Or maybe even Disruption Break if you're feeling frisky. This one comes from Vendor Ingrams, so not the easiest to farm, but it works, I guess. There's also Summoner, which is a great auto, but it comes from Trials, so for some people might not be farmable. I'll talk about Trials later, but for PvE, this thing can roll with Rampage or Dragonfly. Okay, so we're going to go through these quick because I took a little too long goofing around earlier with my stupid no more guns in Destiny joke. For hand cannons, find yourself an old fashioned with Demolitionist or Feeding Frenzy and Explosive Payload or Kill Clip. You can get this from vendors. A Nation of Beasts from Last Wish, either curated with Outlaw and Dragonfly, which is my baby, or Outlaw and Kill Clip or Rampage. Then look for an eye-close hand cannon from the dungeon with Triple Tap and Rampage. Did I mention I do help with all Pinnacle activities over on my Twitch? Wink, wink. Also look for an Ancient Gospel from Garden with either the same role as the curated Nation of Beasts, its own curated role, which is Rapid Hit and Kill Clip, or look for Rapid Hit or Outlaw and Dragonfly or Swashbuckler. Can anyone say Fatebringer 3.0? Or is it 4.0? Anyway, I'm excited for Vault to return next year, and it doesn't bring Fatebringer back, I will scream. Point is, Nation of Beasts and Ancient Gospel can be like the fake bringers of Destiny 2. Man, how I miss that gun. Comment below if you think I'm getting my baby back when the Content Vault gives us back the granddaddy of raids, the OG, the Vault of Glass. Moving right along, sidearms are beautiful, and anyone who has anything bad to say about them can take it up with me, and I will do nothing about it except be really, really sad. Breachlight is my favorite. Grab one with Outlaw or Demolitionist and Rampage or Vorpal, and you won't be disappointed. My god roll I'm going for is Demolitionist Rampage. You can find them from Dawn Focus Ingrams. I have like 5 lonesomes, and the 3 I love the most are Outlaw and Kill Clip, Full Auto and Demolitionist, and Full Auto and Kill Clip. I don't think you could go wrong with any of those perks. Farm these from Contrast Focused Ingrams. The Fool's Remedy and Last Hope are also really nice choices for the energy slot. I'm just going to put the perks up on the screen now and not even talk about them because you know the drill. So for Submachine Guns, we're going to go with the 3 energy ones that were introduced this season. First, we have the Death Adder, which will come from the new dungeon. Feeding Frenzy Dragonfly is really nice. So is Disruption Break. If you pair that with our Vorpal Breachlight that we got earlier, throw on a Surprise Attack mod, which will use all your stacks of Charge with Light, but will also buff your sidearm damage, and then you get Charge with Light using the Swift Charge mod, or really any other Charge with Light mod, and then also make sure you have stacks on stacks, which will give you an extra Charge with Light for every stack you gain. You break a shield, proccing Disruption Break, which will buff your kinetic damage, and then you swap to that sidearm, and mwah, perfection. If you want me to go into more detail or show off a build, post in the comments below. And then back to it, we'll have the Iclos SMG. We're going to go with Threat Detector or Subsistence, and then really any final perk except maybe Tap the Trigger. I really like Surrounded, but then again, they're all good. And then you can use this gun with the disruption break build that I mentioned earlier. And then something I didn't talk about when we were talking about the Eiklos hand cannon, but the 3 Eiklos guns have a special perk that can roll in their second slot called Seraph rounds, which is like a combo of armor piercing, but then you don't get the slight range buff, and then ricochet rounds. It sounds interesting, and it can only roll on these guns. So if you get it, I say keep it. I don't know if I'd really choose anything for PvE over it, other than maybe appended mag because it increases your ammo reserves, especially if you have subsistence, which will lower your reserves. Anyway, this gun comes from the CQC focused Ingrams. And then we have the 7th Seraph SMG with Ambitious Assassin with either Dragonfly or Feeding Frenzy, but really there are many bad combos you can get on this gun. This one comes from the Worthy focused Ingram. So for Breachload grenade launchers, I have a Martyr's Retribution I love that has confined launch, which is good for PvP, but I think generally quick launch is considered a better perk. Mine also has high velocity rounds, auto-loading holster, and demolitionist, but this thing can also roll with field prep or rangefinder. It comes from the same umbra as the Breachlight, so you can farm those together. And then we have the insane True Teller that rolls with spike grenades. So grab that with quick launch. It can roll with Feeding Frenzy and multi-kill clip, which sounds kind of insane. So yeah, go for that. Rick Cactus has a great video on this roll that I will link to right now and put a link to in the description below. The only kinetic sniper is going to be the Eye of Soul, which comes from Trials, so it's not really farmable, but you can get 3 free rolls just by playing the game mode and picking up the in-game bounty when it's the 3 wins weapon of the weekend, if that ever happens again. Or if you get to 3 wins, you can farm it for as long as you keep earning tokens. But unless you're a decent Trials player, I find it hard to recommend it in a video about farming weapons for next season. I want one with field prep and Vorpal myself, but I don't know if that's going to happen. This goes for any of the Trials weapons. If you see the auto, like I mentioned earlier, or the shotgun, I highly recommend finding 2 buddies that can keep their cool and just going into Trials to get the bounty done. Win or lose, you still get 1 roll. If you do it on 3 characters, that's 3 chances at a pretty great roll on some decent guns. If you need someone to play with, please don't hesitate to reach out to me on Twitter. Link is in the description, or leave a comment below. I'm not a good player, but I like to have fun. I don't get mad if I die or lose. I'll just make fun of myself. Okay, so the Trials section is over. For energy, we're going to look for the Eiklos with 4 times the charm or triple tap and either box breathing. But ever since they changed the perk, I'm kind of like towards it, and I know most people are too. Or high impact reserves. Just try for a high impact reserves. Fusions, I feel like, are one of those archetypes that have perks that are far above all the others that you want to shoot for when you can go for small bore, like with shotguns. And for the second perk, Liquid Coil seems to be the de facto best perk. Or, shoot for enhanced battery. Anyway, the first fusion is the main ingredient. I believe this is still farmable from Menagerie as well as from the vendors. For the roll, I think the standard is hit mark, but sight doesn't seem to matter too much. None of them are really bad. Then we have liquid coils for more damage, or enhanced battery for more shots, then under pressure or auto loading, and finally rampage. Or if you can't get that, kill clip is a good option. And then we have hollow words, where small bore is a thing, but literally any barrel's probably okay. Then enhanced or liquid coils, which is standard for fusions. Then you have your choice of Feeding Frenzy or Lead from Gold. Then you can't really go wrong with Vorpal, Disruption Break, Unrelenting, or Surrounded. And then finally we have Zealot's Reward. This comes from the Garden Raid, and then you want it with your standard small bore, liquid coils, then probably Shield Disorient and Rampage, but really no options are bad. Python is a shotgun that will still be viable and is also pretty good. It's curated, so do the quest if you have time. Other shotguns, we have the 7th Seraph CQC that can roll with either Trench Barrel or Vorpal. It's farmed from Worthy focused Umbral. Then there's the Eiklos shotgun from the dungeon that has no bad perks in its last spot, but look for Vorpal, Surrounded, Trench Barrel, or Rampage, and then pair that with Feeding Frenzy. You can also grab a Hawthorns with full auto or field prep and 1-2 punch or Demolitionist, or Surrounded. There are only two swords I'm going to recommend farming for PvE stuff, which are the Temptation's Hook and the Falling Guillotine. For the Boltcaster, you want Honed Edge, Swordmaster's Guard, Tireless Blade, and I prefer Vorpal on it. And then for the Dark Drinker, you want Jagged Edge or Honed Edge, Swordmaster's Guard, Relentless, and Whirlwind. For grenade launchers, we want a Behringer's Memory with your standard hard or quick launch, spike grenades, clown cartridge or field prep, and demolitionist or rampage for when we aren't just using this for boss damage. And then you're going to have your standard Swarm of the Raven roll with hard or quick launch, spike grenades, field prep, and rampage. And now for rapid fire. Rocket launchers, I'm going to say just pick up the Bad Omens the Drifter is selling, and that will get you through the next year. And then, unless you grabbed a line in the sand, your only linear fusion option is going to be Komodo, so nothing really to grind for there. And then finally, there are no new machine guns that will last you into next year. Isn't that sad? And then that's it. That's all the weapon types that you can farm this season that will last you into, next year. Okay, so for my recommended farming order, I'm going to say start with the rifle-focused Umbrals, so you can get that sweet Falling Guillotine, because that's going to be king of close quarters DPS. That'll also help you grind for the Cold Denial. Next, go for the edge-focusing grind for a good Temptation Hook, because this weapon is just fun. That'll also help you grind for the bow. Then move on to the Dawn-focusing grind for a Breachlight and a Martyr's Retribution. Both I feel are worth grinding for. Then move on over to the lead-focused Umbral to try and get a Gnawing Hunger, maybe a Night Watch to tuck away somewhere and let gather dust in case it becomes good. Assassin Focus would probably be next, so you can get that Icelo Sniper and a Behringer's Memory. Then go to the rifle-focused Ingram for Hollow Words and False Promises. Then work on the Worthy-focused Umbral Ingram for the 7th Seraph Shotgun and SMG. Then, if you still have time and you want to grind more Umbrals, or you decide you like the guns better, the CQC Umbral will drop the Iclos SMG, and Contrast Focus will drop the Lonesome. I recommend these last because the other two weapons I don't care for in the case of first in, last out shotgun, and then I feel like the Bad Omens is better gotten from the Drifter. You may decide you want that shotgun over the Seraph Shotgun, or the Bad Omens over the Martyr's Retribution, so just replace the Dawn Focus that you're using to get the Sidearm with the Contrast Focus, replace the Worthy Focus that you're using to get the SMG with the CQC Focus. I have a link to a crappy infographic I made in the description that maybe makes this less confusing. If you need more altered element, that means you probably didn't AFK Forge Farm enough before it got patched, so now the best way is to run Nightmare Hunts. I'll try and link to a video about it either somewhere on the screen or in the description below. Concurrently with the previous, I recommend also running the dungeon for the Iclos Hand Cannon, Death Adder, and Iclos Shotgun. You can run this 3 times a week and have at least 2 up to 3 chances for each gun. One from the encounter it drops from, and another from each of the 2 secret chests, assuming you've earned that gun from the encounter it comes from in the first place. Then run the raids Last Wish and Garden of Salvation. Last Wish guns will drop from any encounter, but the curated versions are specific to certain encounters, and Garden has specific loot for each encounter. And then, if you have an excess of gunsmith materials and want to get rid of them, I recommend buying Ingrams from him. But I'd wait for this step because a lot of these drops are world drops from regular Ingrams, and you might find you get a gun with a roll you want from just playing the game. We have like 10,000 years before the next season now, so what else are you going to do? Now, I feel like adding again, these are all just my opinion, and there's likely to be better guns, better rolls, especially for the world drops. These are just the ones I like and prefer. So thank you for watching what was going to be like a 10-minute video, but has now turned into this monstrosity. I don't know why anyone would still be watching this, but if you are and you like stuff like this, just go ahead and gently tickle the like button. I'm going to add this here. This video I wrote and, filmed and recorded all this stuff for it 2 months ago. It was supposed to come out back then. It didn't. We now only have 40 days until, as of me recording this, we only have 40 days until the new season comes out. It was supposed to come out when we had 90 days left or something, but I procrastinated. I let fear of failure, fear of people hating this video, fear of people not liking me or not watching it, you know, just all these like crazy thoughts and fears you get keep me from actually making it. So, you know, I'm glad I finally did. I'm sorry it's so long. I'm trying to make shorter content, but it's difficult. So if you watch this again from like the very bottom of my heart, thank you so much.